welcome everyone to CRS, Center for Remembering and Share. I'm Christopher Pelham, Director of the Center, and also healer and teacher of Course and Miracles. The spiritual writer, counselor, and lecturer Yasuko Kasaki and I opened the center 15 years ago to be a place where everyone could come to recognize the light in themselves and others, and share their love and creativity with the world. Yasuko is now in Japan, so I'm sorry she cannot be here with us today. I'd like to start by thanking Jun Nakachi and Sunny OCI and Dorino for organizing this event with us. I'd also like to thank the Reverend TK Nakagaki of the Heiwa Foundation, as well as the musicians Naomi Mizuguchi and Hiroshi Kono and Yoshiko Nakamura, and Jun, who's doubling as a musician today, for joining us, and for Benton and Sake1 for donating the refreshments that we'll enjoy in the program. Now, most of you here today I can see are Japanese, and I'm sure you probably already study or know quite a bit about Okinawan history. But I'd like to share with you briefly some of what I have learned and what I know about Okinawa. Because June 23, tomorrow here, but already June 23 in Okinawa, is Okinawa Memorial Day, Irie no Hi, which commemorates the hundreds of thousands of lives lost in the Battle of Okinawa. And I can imagine it can bring up so many thoughts of all the cruelty and painful events that happened back then, and of the many difficult things Okinawan people have endured. But why I would like to talk about it is I feel the history of Ryukyu people and of Okinawa is not only about them, not only even about Japanese and Americans, you guys and us, but all the people on the earth. Because every one of us has been touched by occupation somewhere, oppression somewhere, political or personal. We all endure tragedies. And it may be, we think, more painful or less painful, but we are all affected. We all affect each other, and we all have to heal together. Now, throughout its history, up until 1609, the people of Ryukyu, I learned, had their own culture and their own oral language, and were never occupied by another country before Japanese invaded in 1609. Now, the Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan, he wanted to take over, but he was unable to. And for hundreds of years, in fact, Chinese people, Japanese people, and Ryukyu people basically lived in peace, trading and coming and going. Now, the Ryukyu people's own traditions say that its culture was founded by priestesses, daughters of Tenteishi, who was descendant of the creation goddess Amamikyu. These priestesses were said to have brought fire to the people to create the hearth, around which we cook and create life in each community and family. And these priestesses, called Noro or Nuru in Okinawan, continue to be at the center of Ryukyu life up until 1609, when the Shimazu clan from the Kyushu invaded and sought to impose a more paternalistic system. Now, the king of Ryukyu at that time, Sho Ne, I was so impressed, famously told his people, Nuchidu Takara, and let's surrender. Let's avoid any bloodshed. It's quite amazing when you think about all the kings and warriors, that rather, fight to the death and sacrifice everyone. So I could really feel a sense of, peace in the minds of Ryukyu people. The Japanese who came at that time, immediately began plundering and taking back so many treasures. They tried to strip the Noro priestesses of all of their power and land and authority, and actually they took away the right of the women in Ryukyu to own land and pretty much to hold office and have influence. In 1879, well, and even before that, the Tokugawa shogunate, closed Japan, as you all know, but they left Okinawa open simply so that they could extract more money from China by further exploiting Okinawa. So it was just used from 1609 up to through 1879 when the Meiji government outright annexed Okinawa and began intense process of, I'm just going to call it, brainwashing, of trying to convert everyone to follow the emperor. They began basically kidnapping Okinawan young men, teenagers, conscripting into the army, even though laws in Honshu and mainland Japan didn't allow necessarily for teenagers, but they just broke their rules because they had less respect for Okinawan people. When the Americans came in 1945, they expected Ryukyu people would be glad to be liberated from the oppressive Japanese to the north. But the Japanese had so convinced them to be terrified of the Americans that, as you must know, they fought. And somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 of the population died. In our pop culture, Avengers movie just came out, and the storyline is about how one, alien snapped his fingers and half of the population of the world is gone. But it's not just, made up crazy nightmare fantasy. This is what Okinawan people actually experience. Every other person that they know in their life gone in 2 months. Unfortunately, after the war, the Americans who had promised, to liberate them, as you know, continued occupation for 27 years, just continuing exploitation. Took up somewhere between 1/5 and 1/4 of the land for the military bases, depending on how it's measured and where you read about it. And when they finally decided to give back political control of Okinawa, rather than give to the Okinawan people, they just gave back to Japan. And at that time, they were enforcing a lot of the racial segregation policies that existed, in American South. I was so shocked to read that. I thought it's just a kind of our local horror in America, but America, had exported their racial discrimination. So, to this day, 31 bases are still in Okinawa. Okinawa land is only 0.6% of all Japanese land, but almost 2/3 of the bases are in that tiny land. And as Hideko could tell you much better than me, but just what I learned is that as a population grew back, of course they had to build so many schools and towns and homes, and there is no place to put them except scattered around these military bases. And, we all know now, how things fall out of the sky because of the negligent maintenance of American military equipment, and children are killed. So many people were raped after the war, and then periodically by the out-of-control soldiers. And 91% of Okinawan people want there to be less troops and less bases. 91%, or none. But somewhere they want less. But Japanese central government just completely ignores their will. You think 91% of people vote for something in a democracy, it can happen. Well, when we look at all of this, I have to say, I see lots of darkness. I feel a lot of shame, fury, grief, sadness, and we have to ask, what can we do with these feelings? And we can't simply sweep them under the rug and say, okay, next generation will take care of it. Because it's still in our mind, bothering us. So how do we forgive this? How do we heal? Well, when we try to ask, how we can forgive when we see these problems, we are doomed to fail because we are seeing from the point of view of the problems. So we have to look at it a different way. Our job is not to bring a light, because that would imply that there's no light, then we have to make the light. And if we don't work hard enough or we're not good enough, then we fail and we have to be guilty, and then there's more problem. No, our work, and the only sane response I feel that we can make is simply to look at these thoughts in our minds and bring them into the light. What does that mean? It means to remember first that the light is in us, that in the face of so many things, still our love wants to come forth and meet it. And our love is bigger than just darkness. And we can transform it. We are all made from love, so it's not for us to feel we are helpless. We can all do something by sharing our love and reminding people, you can get through this. Together we can overcome. So I like to practice that with you just for a moment. I'd like you to just turn to your left or the right and just to say hello to who's with you. Go ahead. Don't be shy. It's great if it's somebody new. And I know it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but see if you can make eye contact for a moment and just look at the light in your neighbor's eyes. And don't just go away. Stay there. And see the light. Just feel the light in the eyes. And then you can allow yourself to slowly eyes close. Slowly close your eyes and be soft. But remember the light that you saw. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Just remember this light. This light shows you that the light is in your mind, because you wouldn't recognize it if you didn't know what it is. You know what light is. So by seeing the light in your neighbor, remember your own light. And now, in honor of all the Ryukyu Okinawan people, I'd like to ask that we invite into our mind spirit of someone from Okinawa. You don't need to know anyone from Okinawa. Just invite. Please, Okinawan, please join with us. Come into this light. Let me bathe in your light. Let me be a witness to your light. That way, I can know who you really are. And so many things happen, but you are full of light and you transcend them. And you remind me I can do the same. And ask this spirit of Okinawa to share some message of love with you. Don't try to think of anything. Don't worry what it will be. Just watch your mind. Let something fall in. Whatever it is, it's a message of love. Even if you only see lights or just feel silence, that's perfect. The spirit of Okinawa is sharing peace with you. When you feel you have received whatever is there, say thank you to this spirit Thank you to your partner. And just slowly open your eyes. Remember this message. Thank you for sharing it with me.